Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is your pilot speaking. If you haven't already, please stow your carry-on items underneath the seat in front of you or in the overhead bin compartment. At this time, please make sure your seat backs and tray tables are in their full upright position and that your seatbelt is correctly fastened. It is currently 6:20 a.m. local time, and this is a direct flight to the University of Alabama. Welcome aboard. My mom and I landed in Alabama around noon. We picked up a rental car, drove to the University of Alabama, and gave ourselves a self-guided tour around campus. It was a great day for walking. The weather was almost perfect. It was one of those days when it's cool in the shade and warm in the sun. The campus was so beautiful. I really liked all of the trees. I also loved the buildings on campus. They are extremely aesthetic. The architecture's awe-inspiring, and it definitely made me feel like a main character. My favorite places on campus were Shelby Hall, Denny Chimes, and Fraternity Row. Shelby Hall is the big, beautiful building in the corner of campus where all the buildings for the College of Arts and Sciences are grouped. It's my favorite building because I can easily imagine myself going to class there. Denny Chimes is the clock in the middle of the quad. The quad is a huge, grassy, park-like field. The quad is located in the middle of the academic buildings that I toured. My mom and I walked through it often. Whenever we walked by, there were students studying, hanging out, and playing sports on the grass. They gave off college vibes, and it was exciting to visualize myself spending my free time there someday. And of course, Fraternity Row was great for two different reasons. First, the architecture was insane. I was very impressed by the size and the grandeur of each of the houses. They really went all out when designing them, and it was amazing to be able to soak in the thoughtful architecture. Second, I got a good impression from the fraternity boys. You can barely tell, but they saw me filming for my YouTube channel, and they stopped playing spike ball to wave. I also saw a plethora of squirrels, which made me giddy as a girl from the desert. It was fun to annoy my mom by pointing out every squirrel we passed by. She was not nearly as impressed as I was. The most notable thing I learned is that the campus is much smaller than you think. My mom and I both anticipated needing to walk a long way from the river to the stadium, but we were both pleasantly surprised by how quickly we got there. For dinner, we drove a short distance to the very highly praised barbecue restaurant Dreamland Barbecue. It was not exactly as impressive as everyone said it would be, though. My mom and I both ordered the tips and chips, which are basically the ends of the rack of ribs served with fries. Unfortunately, the tips and chips were not hot when they were served, so we sent them back. A couple of minutes after we sent back our food, our waiter came up to us and told us that they were out of tips and chips and asked us to order something else. My mom and I both ordered a half rack of ribs. I liked the rub on them. It was salty and very good. In hindsight, I would have ordered the ribs from the start. For dessert, I ordered their banana pudding, and it was delicious. I'm not exaggerating when I say it was the absolute best banana pudding I've ever tasted. My recommendation is that if you ever go to Dreamland Barbecue, skip the tips and chips and go straight for their banana pudding. Second day, we took the official tour of campus. It was a fabulous tour given by the Capstone men and women. Our tour guides were very knowledgeable and very sweet young women. Even though my mom and I gave ourselves our own tour, we learned so much from our tour guides. I bet you didn't know that the University of Alabama started off as an all-male military academy. That being said, I'm glad that we got to explore on our own because I felt more familiar with the campus. Surprisingly, there was a girl from my town in our tour group. What are the odds? We follow each other on Instagram now. Hey Courtney, wouldn't it be insane if we both decided to go to the University of Alabama and became roommates? Lunch, my mom and I ate in the Fresh Foods dining hall. It was a little bit stressful because of all the options, but in the end I decided on a calzone. It was a very good calzone. For dessert, I had a chocolate chip cookie. After lunch, we had to leave campus in order to arrive at the airport on time. On the ride to the airport, my mom and I talked about our favorite parts of the trip and the things I'd do if I decided to go to the University of Alabama. I think it would be fun to join an ultimate frisbee team, and I'd love to go tailgating to every football game with my best friend. I don't think I would need my car at the University of Alabama since everything is within walking distance. The one thing that didn't click with me was the surrounding town. Tuscaloosa is a small town, and although we didn't explore it much, I got the impression that it was a little bit corny. Not to say there's anything wrong with Tuscaloosa, but our vibes didn't sync up perfectly. Of course, the other factor to consider is the distance between the University of Alabama and the rest of my family. I think going to the University of Alabama would be a giant adventure, but I know that my parents would like me back for the holidays, so it's worth remembering the cost to travel. We made it to the airport with plenty of time to spare. I had Chick-fil-A for dinner. However, I jinxed our flight back home since I made a comment about how lucky we had been to not been seriously delayed on any of our flights recently. This was evidently the wrong thing to say because our flight was delayed. Sorry, Mom. The flight back home was very pleasant. We rode on a giant plane with 7 seats in each row. All in all, it was super fun to go on a trip with just my mom. I'm so pumped thinking about touring other colleges, and I can't wait to take you along for the ride. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next week, XOXO, Relentlessly Reagan.